What's up, everyone? All right, as I sit here right now, the leading percentage gainer is up over 300% on the day. This is the stock that I traded, and I'm sitting up over $58,000 on it. And just like that, May now has a chance of becoming my biggest green month of the year. I'm now sitting over $460,000 in the green on the month of May. Goal at this point, I don't even know where to set it. My goal was 100K a week, but we still have 2 weeks left. So I crossed over 400K, and at this point, $500,000 for the month of May. It's not unreasonable with this type of momentum. So we've got a lot to break down in today's recap. As always, I'm gonna walk you through each of the stocks I traded. I traded 4 different stocks today. I had 3 stocks I traded before this stock came out with breaking news. So I was able to build my cushion, generate a little bit of profit on those first 3 stocks I traded. And then when this stock hit the scanner, I was able to jump in it and get aggressive from the very beginning. And that was really important. So I'm going to walk you through my process of stock selection and how I was able to get so focused on this stock so early. Because in fact, it's at over $13 a share right now, but I had what was arguably a very early entry right after the news came out. All right, so we're gonna break it all down, but let me remind you, today is the first day of our Memorial Day sales. That's right, Memorial Day is a week away. I can't believe it. We're practically coming right into summer. This year has been flying by. So for those of you guys who have checked out a 2-week trial at Warrior Trading, for those of you who have been on the sidelines thinking about taking the leap and becoming a Warrior starter or a Warrior Pro member, this is a great opportunity to join, and let's spend the summer together learning a little bit more about the market. I think you're gonna be impressed with everything you learn here at Warrior Trading. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump on the screen share. What have we got to work with? All right, well, there it is, PTIX. So high level, what do we know about this stock? We're gonna start taking some notes. All right, so number one, price. When it first hit the scanner, it was between $3 and $5 a share. So that's fine. First hit the scanner as it popped up this morning with breaking news. Yesterday's close was, or Friday's close, was right around, let's see, $3.03. So all of a sudden this morning, this thing rips from $3 straight up to $7 a share. Why did it do that? Breaking news. So we had breaking news that came out, and that sent this stock squeezing. Now, the price fell right within kind of the wheelhouse of the price that I typically do the best on. So for those of you guys who are perhaps tuning in for the first time, I'll let you know that I do recaps every single day, whether it's a red day or a green day. Now, I'm fortunate that I don't have too many red days. They do happen, but I don't have too many. If we go to my recent calendar here and we go back to the last 90 days, that was the last red day I had right there, $28,000 in the red. So when I'm red, it's usually a big red day, but fortunately they don't happen that often. So if we go over to detailed here, I'm gonna show you the report which highlights where I make the most money. So this is the last 10 years of trading that I've used, that I've imported into this software right here. So my last 10 years of trading, $16.4 million of profit, so averaging about 1.6 million a year. And we're gonna go to price and volume. So here you're gonna see that I make the most money on stocks actually between 5 and 10 over the last 10 years. But stocks between 2 and 5, I'm still very interested in. And when this stock first hit the scanner, it was at about, well, let's see. We'll go back here. Where was it? When it first hit the scanner, it must have been probably, it was right around $3.75 and then $4, and it hit the scanner at the high of this candle, hitting a high a day of $4.38. So the price checked out. This is a great price, was happy to trade that. Now, number 2, we look for relative volume, and number 3, we look for percentage gain. So when this first hit the scanner, when it squeezed from the low, which was about $3, up to $3.60, it was already up 20%. When it hit a high of $4.43 or $4.38, it was up 40%. So basically, as soon as it hit the scanner, it was up 40%. And you know what that made it? The number 1 leading percentage gainer in the entire market at that moment. Now, the relative volume as of right now is 318 times higher than average. I trade a minimum of 5. So 5x is my minimum. It is far exceeding the minimum. Number 4, I like to see the stock has news. And number 5, the float is less than 20 million shares. And in this case, the float is 382,000 shares, or at least so it says here. We'd have to jump into the filings to check to see the exact float. But as of the most recent data that we got into this software, we're at 382,000 shares. Now, there's a couple of other things that are important to note. So we'll just go on to, kind of bonus. So bonus criteria, sector, and this one is biotech. So this gives us sort of extra points for being a biotech. Other hot sectors can be China stocks and crypto. I have a really hard time writing while I'm talking. Biotech, and then crypto and Chinese. Okay, so this wasn't crypto, it wasn't Chinese, but it was biotech. All right, so that's great. And then on the daily chart, room to the 200 EMA, question mark. And yes, it had room because the 200 EMA was around $7 a share. However, what you'll notice is that the first spike, this ran basically right into the 200. So the 200 EMA is right here at about $7. And so that was our first area of resistance. So we came right up to about 7, we pulled back for a little bit, and then we broke that level, and that's when we got the next big move. The other thing you'll note on the daily chart is it's a recent reverse split. So recent reverse split, yes. So these are all kind of bonus criteria. And what I would basically say is that when a stock meets all 5 of these criteria, these are my 5 pillars of stock selection. So 5 pillars of stock selection. Oops, there we go again. Selection. So the 5 pillars of stock selection, a stock more or less has to meet all 5 of these in order to be an A quality setup. If it meets 4 out of the 5, it's B quality. So that's 4 out of 5, that's 5 out of 5. If it's C quality, that's 3 out of 5. And typically I wouldn't trade something that's C quality. I might rarely, but not often. So I'm looking for A quality setups, A quality stocks. Now, once we have an A quality stock, if we also have the right sector, we got a good position between here, the current price and the 200 EMA, and it's a recent reverse split, that all amplifies the potential of how much this stock could go up. It's not a guarantee. And so you might ask, as you look at the stocks I trade today, and I'm up 61,000 on the day on the 4 stocks I traded, how did I get so, keep the losses so small on SYTA or QNTM, which is actually a small winner, or even BCLI, and then all of a sudden this one's like such a big profit? How was I able to get sort of so focused on seeing which one had potential quickly? So here's what I'll tell you. Sorry, I bumped the microphone. So what I'll tell you is that I never know how much a stock could go up. So BCLI, could that have gone, and we'll look at the chart in a minute, could that have gone up 400, 500%? Sure, in theory, there was no reason that I thought it couldn't, but it didn't. So when I started trading it initially, I'm optimistic. I'm probably the eternal optimist, and you have to be as a day trader. So I look at a stock and I'm always like, okay, where's resistance? And if there's no room between here and there, then that's my target. And sometimes if it's between, the current price is $2 and resistance is until 20, I'm like, all right, is it going to go up $18 a share? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. So I'm happy to start trading it. I break the ice, I build a little profit. And then once the stock starts to run into a wall of sellers, it just kind of stops going up. It seems to get heavy. It starts to roll over, starts to dip back down. Then I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's all that we got out of that stock. And some stocks will go up 300% before they start to get heavy. And others might only go up 30 or 40%. And so at the beginning, I kind of treat them all the same. But then when the stock proves itself to be really exceptional, that's when I start getting more aggressive. And more aggressive means I'm going to take a larger position, and I'm going to probably hold the winners, try to hold them a little bit longer instead of taking really quick base hits right off the table. So let's go back to very first trade of the day. So I sat down this morning, pulled up the scanners at around 6:30, and I didn't see anything that looked good. In fact, I saw a couple things that looked pretty bad. I saw KWE popped up and then did a huge reversal. And I was like, yikes, that is not good. I do not like seeing that. That was like one of the first stocks to hit the scanner early this morning. So I saw that and I was like, nope, that's not good. And then let's see, what was one of the next ones I saw? I'm going to scroll back here. We'll just see if I can load going back a little earlier. So we had that one. And then I'll do that later. Let's see. What was another one that we had? So, oh, right. We had HKPD. So HKPD, this one was popping up early this morning. Went from $1 all the way to $2.40. That's a huge move. It's a Chinese stock. All right. So it's got that bonus criteria being Chinese. But it's got no news. There's no clear catalyst. So now if we go back to our 5 criteria here, it really only meets 4 of them because there's no catalyst, and it's a little cheap. It's a little below my kind of target price range, which, ultimately is, 5 to 10 is like ideal, 2 to 5 is okay, and 10 and, to 20 is all right. So, we kind of, it's a funny way to write it, but 2 to 20 is the zone, but within that, 3 to 15 is kind of like plus. Like that's what I'd really prefer. So anyway, so it was a little on the cheaper side and didn't have news. So I said, I just don't know about this. And so as it popped up here at like 6:50, right before 7 a.m., I saw that and I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. So HKD, I said no on that one. NVAX float was too high. I said no on that one. KWE, I didn't like that. ENVB, I looked at that chart, rejection as well. So I was like, nope, see, that's not good either. And then we had BCLI that hit the scanner right here. So when BCLI first hit the scanner, I actually saw it not initially on this scanner here, but I actually saw it, it's up 71% right here. So I actually saw it first on the top gainer scanner, moving up the scan. So see how this stock has a green arrow here? What that means is that it just moved up 1 position on the scanner. So sometimes right at the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour, when we're expecting to see breaking news, I'm watching to see if all of a sudden a stock starts moving up the scans. And so I actually saw BCLI moving up the scans before it hit that scanner. And I pulled it up and I was like, okay, BCLI, this looks good, interesting. So I was like, all right, guys, I'm watching it. So I told you guys I was watching it. And I had it up, I had the chart up, I had the level 2 up, and I saw initially we popped all the way from $1.50 right here up to $1.95. I was like, that was impressive. And then we dipped down a little bit, and quite a little bit. We come all the way back down to $1.50. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure if this is going to work. But as it pops up right here, I start to see green on the tape, and I punched it. I pressed the buy button, and I tried to buy 10,000 shares. I tried to buy, my order was for 203. And so I had my order up here for 203. I tried to buy 10,000 shares and I filled none of them, right? You could see 0, 0, 0, 0. So I filled 0 shares on that order, which was a real shame because it went from $2 all the way up to $2.95. Yikes. That's $9,000, $9,000 missed, gone, nothing. I didn't get filled. It went without me. So what was the setup on this? The setup here was a micro pullback. This is a micro pullback setup. So we got the pop, the dip, and then the squeeze. By the way, those of you guys that perhaps haven't already joined Warrior Trading, you haven't done a 2-week trial yet, I'm going to put a link for the 2-week trial in the description of this episode below the link for our Memorial Day sales. If you want to do a 2-week trial, you can spend the next 2 weeks watching over my shoulder. Now, the Memorial Day sales will end next week. However, you've got some time to be in the community for the next week and see whether or not you actually want to be a full-fledged member. And it's time well spent. So I encourage you guys to check that out. So in any case, one of the setups I look at is the micro pullback setup. So we got the micro pullback. It worked. It then dips down here. And I was like, all right, well, let's see what this does. It pops up there. It dips down again. And so I said, you know what this looks like to me is that this is forming what we call an ABCD pattern. And we look for the break through the new high. See how that forms a W? W is for winner. And so I buy right here for the squeeze through. Well, actually, I got in a little bit lower. Got in about down here for the break through the high. I was looking for the breakthrough 295. It goes up to 3, but it doesn't break through the high. So nonetheless, it was a winner. Made $3,000 on it. Okay, so not a huge winner. And then we got this candle here, which was a rejection. So now we switch over off the 10-second chart over to the 1-minute chart. And I'm watching both of them at the same time. But on the 1 minute, we can see that we got this rejection candle right here, We popped up and we rejected. I did not like that. We dip down, we pop up and reject again, we pop up and reject again, and it just starts unwinding. The MACD crosses over. There's higher volume on the selling candles. And I'm like, well, you know what? $3,000 isn't bad, but I feel like I should be up 12,000 because I got 9,000 that I missed because my order didn't fill. Well, just the luck of the draw. That's the way it sometimes goes. So that one went without me. Right idea, but went without me. That's the way it goes. All right, so on to the next one. So after that trade on BCLI, I'm watching the scans, and at 7:30, QNTM hits my scanner. Whoa, look at this. Pop, rejection, and then the slow rally all the way back up to 12. So a little bit wild, but the news came out at 7:30 right down here, and it was adding $1 million of Bitcoin to their Bitcoin treasury. So I had mentioned in my watch list episode yesterday that I was going to keep watching this headline, but I was worried it maybe was kind of getting played out and wasn't going to work anymore. So on this one, it pops up on my scanner, and I actually saw it sort of right, where was it? It was actually like right in here. So it sort of just popped up right there on very light volume, and I saw 1050 on the bid and 1075 on the ask, and I saw that it had breaking news. So I had the flame icon, which you would see right here, this flame. It was a red flame, so I knew there was fresh news. So I jumped in and I tried to buy 1,000 shares, and I filled only 679 shares. So I got a partial fill. That was at 1082. And then I added at 1126 and 1132 before taking a little profit at 1160 and 1178. Then it drops down, and all of a sudden the spreads, which were about 25 cents when I got in, opened up to over $1 a share. And I ended up selling the rest on the bid for a loss. And so my total was I made $254, but it really was not a significant trade. All right, so it rejects, and I'm like, whoa, all right, that was close. So let's be careful on that Bitcoin catalyst. So then we had a couple stocks that started popping up that were B quality because they did not have news, and SYTA was one of them. I took a trade on SYTA right here. As it started to pull away, I got in and it rejected, and right there I lost $440. So, on that setup, the way I was looking at it was, yes, the stock has no news. However, it's obviously moving. Traders seem to be focusing on it because you've got all that volume on that last pop. And so it popped up, it dropped down, and as it came back up right here, I got in as it broke over 270. It popped up to 295. I was looking for the squeeze through 3. It didn't do that. It came back down, and I stopped out right here. Now, if I'd bought way up here, I would have taken a big loss, but that would have been chasing it. So I bought as it was breaking 275, and I added up here around 280. So my cost basis was like right in this area, but that was tolerable. So took a small loss on that, but nothing crazy. I would have added to this if it had broken through 3, but it did not. So I did not add. So this did not become a full size position. So the loss was on, smaller size. It wasn't on full size. All right, so then I took my small loss on SYTA, and there was another stock that was popping up at the same time with no news. What was it? So BCLI, NAOE, DTSS. DTSS came up with no news. Interestingly, there was a 200,000 share buyer on the bid right here. It pops up with no news, and there's walls of sellers, selling, selling, selling. I said, I'm not trusting it. It's Chinese. And then all of a sudden, half an hour later, news comes out, and it pops up again. So someone knew the news before that came out. So, yeah, and I can't remember what the other ticker was. I don't think it was NAOV, but there was, oh no, maybe it was. NAOV was another one that popped up and reversed. So then PTIX hits the scanners, and initially I'm kind of like, well, if it's a crypto catalyst, I better just leave it alone. But immediately I see that it's a biotech, therapeutics company. So I'm like, okay, that's the right that's the right sector. And I see that it's a relatively low float with a recent reverse split. And at the moment, it had room up to the 200 moving average, which was at 7. And so it pops up on the scanner, and we get a micro pullback. So let's go look at this one. All right, so it pops up on the scanner. Let's go way back to this here. And right here, you get your first micro pullback right there. So I jumped in right here as it started squeezing up, and I was adding for the break of 5, adding at 550, adding at 6, adding at 650. So on a stock like this, I'm pretty much adding every $0.50 and moving my mental max loss up. So when I first get in down here, my max loss is down here. And then as I add here, I move my max loss to here. And I add here and I move my max loss to here. So as I'm adding, I'm moving up my mental place where I'm going to bail out, but I'm increasing the size of my position. So then as it keeps going higher, I end up having a trade from a low of $4 all the way up to $7 a share, $3 a share. And of course, I take some profit into some of these peaks and then buy dips as it shows that it can rally back up. We get that peak at about 7 right at the 200 EMA. So then I'm like, okay, let's see what this does. It dips down. We get a nice bounce off 5 and it pops back up here to 650. Then we dip down again. We get another bounce off 5 and I'm buying these dips. Then we get another pop back up to 6 and look at this squeeze right here from 650 up to 7. I sized up here and I lost $5,000. Okay, gave back a little profit off the top. It dips down. It failed to break through 7. I thought it was going to work, but it didn't. So then it dips down again. And then it comes back up. And let's watch when it comes back up. So let's switch to the 1-minute chart. So we switch to the 1-minute chart at this point, because now it's, once you've got sort of the first pullback, I usually will switch. So, my goodness. Girl, leave him alone. Leave him alone. So, so we end up having this high of 710 right here, double top. And it came back up right here on a break of VWAP. So we had a nice break of VWAP, and I did take that trade for break of VWAP. Ends up hitting a high of 650, pulls back again, sideways consolidation. And right here, I didn't really see this coming. But I added when it broke through this high here, and my target was that it would squeeze through 7. And it did. It broke up, went to 750, pulled back, and I said, as long as it holds 7, we're holding above the 200. We got another dip right there, and a squeeze up to 850. Pulled back, and right here, I actually lost again, because I tried to size up for the breakthrough 850, and it rejected. So I made money on this move here and this move here, but then I gave back about 10% off the top right here. So that was another $5,000 loss. It dips down. So at that point, I hit 64,000 on the day, and then I was down to about 58,000 actually. It was a $6,000 loss. So then it dips down, and then it comes back up here to 850 again, and then it finally breaks, but not very clean. It does this sort of rejection, and then it pulls away. So it started getting a little choppy here with these topping tails for whatever reason, I don't know. But I noticed that we were, yes, above the 200 EMA, but we had some resistance levels that I was worried about. So I had drawn that one, and then which we didn't touch, and then I had drawn this one right here, which we got pretty close to. So then at the open, it sells off, and I was like, all right, well, you know, I think I'm done. And then we got this inverted head and shoulders pattern right there, and it squeezes up to 9, micro pullback, up to a halt, opens high, sells off hard, back to 9. Then it squeezes and rallies back up to 1150, and it goes even higher, as you could see here, another time windows, another time. You got to be kidding me. And it goes up a little bit higher right here, all the way up to 1350. So, I mean, it's really great to see. This is some solid momentum. Now, clearly Windows is desperate to do an update here, and I shouldn't stand in its way. So those were my trades on PTIX. I'm grateful and once again just blown away at the momentum we're seeing in the market. So PTIX currently up 325%, 74 million shares of volume. It's got relative volume over 300 times higher than usual. It's got news today. And this is a fantastic way to start the week. So it seems now attention is maybe shifting back towards biotech. I'm fine with that. I'd actually prefer that over the Chinese stocks and over crypto. But these are the sectors that tend to be hot. They tend to show us these big moves. So right now, my game plan for tomorrow is that I'm going to sit down 7 a.m. bright and early, live streaming for our members at Warrior Trading. And what I'm going to be looking for are stocks that are moving up quickly to buy the first pullback. And if we only get 10, 15, 20 cents out of it before it runs into resistance, then that's all we get. If it ends up going 50 cents or 75 cents a share, I'm going to start adding into that move to see how high it wants to go. I mean, we've seen stocks in the last couple of weeks, KDLY last Monday or Tuesday, that went from $3 a share to 30 bucks. So I don't want to underestimate that if we're in a hot market and something really starts to catch some momentum, that we could see some big volatility. But remember, as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical. So I want you to make sure as you're practicing these new strategies that you do what? You trade it in a simulator. Please take it slow, pay your dues, and prove you can make money in the sim before you put real money on the line. Those of you guys that want to keep learning, check out the 2-week trial. Those of you guys ready to take the leap, you could join us with the Memorial Day sale coupon codes. And those of you guys that want to just keep learning here on YouTube, I hope you hit the thumbs up. I hope you subscribe. And here's a link to a couple other episodes that I think you guys will really enjoy. With that, I will see you back at it first thing tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.